Well, hello, my name is Jenny, and I will be through hiking the Appalachian Trail starting in late February. And I wanted to talk today about all of the gear that I will be bringing with me on this epic journey. This video is going to focus on the gear that I'll be starting with for a winter start down in Georgia. I'm going to start with my big three. So I'm not going to go into too much detail about my big three in this video because I have a separate video where I talk about that in some detail. I am a hammock camper, and so my hammock of choice is the Warbonnet Blackbird hammock. I am going to start out carrying the hammock inside of the Warbonnet travel sock. So what that is, it's a fully enclosed sleeve that goes over your entire hammock setup. It's water resistant, wind resistant, and it holds some heat in. So typically I'm able to increase the temperature in my hammock by about 10 degrees just from my body heat being in there. So inside the travel sock, I have my hammock as well as my underquilt kind of carabined together so that when I set up my hammock, it's all kind of in one piece. The hammock suspension system I have is the Beckett hitch suspension system, so I have the Beckett straps for it. So one change from my big three video is that instead of the Warbonnet 0-degree Wookie, I will be bringing the 20-degree Wookie. The reason is because I don't think there's going to be very many nights below 20 degrees that I'll experience. And if there are, I don't particularly want to be out camping. The 20 degrees should be sufficient. I have tested it down into the 30s and I was plenty warm, probably too warm. For my top quilt, I am bringing the Enlightened Equipment Revelation Hammock Edition quilt. This is a 10-degree quilt, and I think this will be fine for starting out in the winter. As it warms up, I will be switching it out, but this is what I'm going to start with. My tarp is the Hammock Gear Dyneema Hex Tarp. I have through hiked with this before. I've brought it on the AT before in pouring rain, and it always keeps me dry, at least the parts that are important. And it's the lightest thing in the world. I just really love this tarp, and I don't like doors. So I am bringing a tarp with outdoors. I did replace the lines on it with fresh new lines. I just have these Shepherd Hook Titaniums tent stakes. They're so light. They're not the best at keeping the lines in the ground, but I think there's been some tests, wind tests done, where if you actually put a rock on top of it, it's not going to come out of the ground. So I will do that if worst comes to worst. This is what I use to hang my tarp. So this is some Zingit line. There's two pieces of it and there's a loop on each end, so I basically just loop it in on itself on the tree. The tarp itself has line locks, so it allows me to quickly adjust the tension of the tarp, which I love, and it also makes it a very quick and easy setup. So I store my tent stakes and my line in this Hilltop Packs tent stake bag, which is new. So another new thing I've added to the system, this is a 1/8 inch foam pad from Gossamer Gear. It weighs, I think, 2.5 ounces. And I'm bringing this for a few reasons. It weighs next to nothing and it seems like it's going to give me a lot of uses. As a hammock user who normally uses an underquilt, I don't carry a sleeping pad with me. That becomes an issue if there's ever times when I might need to stay in a shelter, such as if the weather is very severe and unexpected. So I have this as an emergency just so I don't have to lay down on the bare wood. The other purpose to this is for breaks. So if I want to just take a break where I want to just relax and recline, I can put this out and kind of lay on it or sit on it. It's also going to be a place where I can spread out my gear so I don't have to put my stuff on the ground. I might also be using this for stretching. It would also be sort of an additional layer of insulation that I could use inside my hammock if it's really, really cold. I almost forgot to talk about my backpack. This is the 6 Moon Designs Minimalist V2. It's a heavier backpack, but it carries much better than my old backpack. And a big part of that is the running vest style harness, which distributes the weight more evenly across your core rather than having it all be on your shoulders or on your hips. I've been super happy with this backpack so far. It is supposedly waterproof. I haven't had a good chance to test that. I am bringing redundancies inside of the pack though, including a pack liner and dry bags for my clothing. If you're more interested in the backpack, I do have a video just about this backpack, so check that out. For those interested in weight, my winter big 3 comes in at about 7.5 pounds. The next category to talk about is clothing. So I think the best way to go about this is to go through it outfit by outfit according to purpose. Starting with the clothes that I'll be hiking with. I typically hike wearing a buff sort of as a headband to keep the hair out of my face. It also doubles as my pillowcase at night. For a winter start, I'm also going to bring this fleece buff. So this one I would wear around my neck, and it even has like a regular buff material, so I could maybe wear it over my head too if I wanted. This is probably one of the first things that I'll be sending home as it starts to warm up, because I'm not going to need the extra insulation around my neck at that point. But I'll start with it. I also have this very lightweight merino wool beanie. So this is something that I can layer with the fleece buff and the regular buff, and between all those things plus my hoods, I think this will be plenty enough to keep my head warm. This next thing I'm really excited about. This is a Parapack baseball cap. It weighs very little. I don't even remember the weight of this, but it also it folds into itself, so it packs down super small. So I could pack this up and toss it in my fanny pack or whatever, but honestly I'll probably be wearing this most of the time, at least when the sun is up, because if you haven't heard about my precancer spot I had removed from my nose, I've been very paranoid about sun protection since then, so I'm going to be definitely wearing a hat with a brim at all times. So moving down to my torso, I wear a Velocity No Sweat sports bra. Over that I have a Velocity t-shirt. I've brought this on a ton of hikes. It never smells. It's great. Over that, which does end up smelling, is the, what is this? It's a Columbia PFG button-up shirt. It's very lightweight and quick drying. I like that it has buttons, so if I need to ventilate, I can just unbutton it. What I'll also hike in, particularly in colder weather, is this Light Heart Gear microgrid fleece hoodie, which I think is pretty lightweight for what it is. It's very warm. It of course has the hood and a kangaroo pouch. And something I recently learned, which is super cool, is that if you turn the kangaroo pouch inside out, the hoodie actually stuffs into itself and it makes a really nice pillow. I don't know if I'm gonna use it like that, but just having that option like just elevated this item even more for me. Moving down to pants. I wear ex officio underwear. I like that they're quick drying, they're very light. I'll typically wear one and then I'll carry an extra pair so that I always have a clean pair on hand. I am bringing shorts, so anytime when it's like 60 degrees or warmer, I would want to hike in shorts. So if I know it's going to warm up that day, I'll probably just wear them underneath my pants, and then that way I can just take the pants off and then I have the shorts on underneath. These are just some cheapo running shorts. The brand is Pony. I like these because they have the 2 layers. So you've got your inner layer and the outer layer, and they kind of rub against each other so they don't cause chafing on your legs. My pants are the Columbia Anytime Bootcut women's pants. I like these pants because they are stretchy, so they don't feel restrictive. They dry pretty fast, which I like. And I don't know, I've been hiking in these for a long time and I enjoy them. Moving down to my feet, I have the Injinji toe liner socks, and over those I will have a pair of Darn Tough socks, and I always carry an extra pair of these in my clothing bag for sleeping in so that I always have a dry pair of socks. For shoes, I am wearing the Topo Ultra Venture 3s. This is a brand new pair. I will walk in these a little first to break them in. I actually sized up, so I used to wear a size 9, and I've been noticing lately that it's not quite enough room in there for me. So I ended up sizing up to a 9.5. And I think this is going to work out better for me because if I'm wearing 2 pairs of socks, it takes up more space in the shoe than if you're just wearing 1 pair. And I've also heard that your feet tend to grow after you start the trail. So this will give me a little extra space for that. I wear gaiters when I hike. These are the Dirty Girl gaiters. So these are gonna go over my shoe, and it stops debris from entering the shoe. So little sticks and pine needles and leaves and stuff can get in your shoe, and then you have to empty them out every 10 minutes or so to get all the stuff out. Or at least I do, because there always ends up being stuff in my shoe. So this saves a lot of frustration and allows me to hike longer without having to stop and empty out my shoe. They attach with a little hook on the front, and in the back, some shoes will have something called a gaiter trap on the back, and it'll be just like a little piece of Velcro. These don't come with that. So what I'll do is cut a little strip of Velcro and glue that on, and that allows the back of the gaiter to attach. Now let's talk about gloves. So I wear sun gloves when hiking. These are the Outdoor Research ones. They have like a little grip on them, and they're very lightweight. I've worn these in the heat of summer and they're fine. My hands don't get too hot in these, which I like. I also like that they're fingerless, so that lets me still use my phone if I need to. I think an underrated item, because when you're holding your trekking poles, the sun is beating down directly right there in your hand. And I noticed that as soon as I started using trekking poles, I was always getting sunburn right there. And that's when I switched to wearing sun gloves, and I've never gone back. I love these. For when it's colder, I have just a lightweight, cheap pair of fleece gloves. They're thin enough that I can fit my Showa gloves over them. So if it's real cold, I can layer them up. So wear these with the Showa over them. And the Showa gloves are a waterproof glove, which I'll wear for when it's like freezing rain or gathering water that is really, really cold. Speaking of rain, I am going to start out with rain pants. These are a cheap pair that I bought off of Amazon years ago. They are from Mountain Warehouse. I've repaired these 3 or 4 times, I think. So what happens is the seam inside comes apart, and so I've retaped it. I've also repaired some holes in them. And they're not super waterproof, but they do add some protection from the rain, and they also help hold in heat on the really cold days. So if I wear these over my pants, then my legs will stay warmer. This is a new jacket that I got a few months ago. This is a Frog Togs jacket, and I think it's called Extreme Light or something. It's actually lighter than their normal one. I don't expect this to hold up, but I'm starting with this because I think that it's going to keep me warmer. So normally I like to use a poncho, but my poncho, the sleeves only are like 3/4 length, so my arms get wet. So I wanted something that would cover my arms. That's why I'm starting with this. I will at some point send this home and get my poncho. So this is the Gossamer Gear Light Trek umbrella, and I have the hands-free clasp for it. So that allows me to attach this to my backpack without having to hold the umbrella while I'm hiking. So I can still use my trekking poles like normal, but be more protected from the rain. My intent with this is to keep my top half of my body drier. It should also protect the top of my backpack, especially since I won't have a pack cover or poncho covering the backpack. So it'll provide hopefully a little extra protection from the rain for my pack. The last category of clothing to talk about is my sleep or camp clothes. While I'm hiking, I keep my clothing in a dry bag. This is a Columbia, I don't really know the names of these things. It's a Columbia shirt. It's synthetic. It's very, very soft. I love this shirt. It's purple. It has thumb holes. Oh, it's an Omni Wick, so it's moisture wicking. So I sleep in this, or I'll wear it around camp just because it's nice and comfy. My pants are the EMS Ascent fleece-lined leggings. So these are really warm. For my puffy, the brand is Rocka and Rolla. I got this on Amazon as a gift, and it's fine. It's not the warmest puffy, but it works, and it's just enough cushion at night inside my buff as a pillow. I mentioned already that I will have a second pair of Darn Tough socks to sleep in as well. Over my socks, I wear the Dutch Wear Up booties. There are lighter options that you can get, but I have these. If it's real cold, I might put like a hand warmer inside of them to keep my feet even warmer. These are not something that you would wear outside of your sleep system because they would just soak through. So what I ended up doing was I made these Dyneema booty covers. So I've been taking these out on overnights, and so what I do is if I'm in my hammock and I'm warm and cozy and I suddenly have to use the bathroom, I will put these covers on so that my booties don't get wet, but I also don't have to put my wet shoes back on. This is just something to temporarily protect the booties. So that's all of the clothing. One thing I didn't talk about is camp shoes. I am thinking about not bringing camp shoes. I'm still mulling it over. But camp shoes are something that is really nice to have, but you don't need it. And so I'm kind of trying to keep my load out as light as possible. So I'm thinking about not bringing them. Of course, that will mean that I'll have wet shoes at camp, and I'll have wet shoes when I go into town. So I guess I'll show you if I were to bring camp shoes, what my options are. So these are camp shoes that I have used on previous trips. The flip-flops being the lighter of the two options, but also more of a warmer weather type thing. These are a heavier option. They're kind of a hybrid hiking water shoe. They offer a little bit more coverage, so you could wear them with socks. The weight difference between these two pairs, these are about 4 ounces and these are 12.6. Ideally, I would want to bring these, but they're heavy. And I don't know if it's worth even bringing flip-flops. You can let me know what you think if I am just gonna die if I don't have camp shoes. I guess in my mind, I'm thinking if my feet are wet and cold, what I'll probably do is as soon as possible, I'll either get into my hammock or I'll get into a shelter and I will change into my dry socks and put these booties on. And then if I really needed to get up and go out and use the bathroom or something, I could just change back into my trail runners. And I don't think it's a huge deal. I was about to talk about kitchen, food, and water, and I got a little hungry, so now it's snack time. All right, next, let's talk about kitchen, food, and water. My clothing bag is going to double as my food bag. And the reason I can do this without stinking up my clothes is I keep all of my food in a smelly proof bag. I have never had mice chew through my stuff before, and I think it's largely because I use these bags. So I have a little less than 5 days of food in here, and I am not going to talk in detail about the items I have in here because I'm saving that for another video because there's just kind of a lot to talk about. But typically I would carry 3 to 5 days worth of food in here. And in addition to my food, I carry a spork. It's a titanium Light My Fire spork. So it has the spoon on one end and a fork on the other end. I also carry a Fossil's Snapfold cup. So what I use that for is oatmeal in the morning. So it can be really difficult and annoying to clean out my pot. So this is actually easier to clean because it opens flat and then you can just kind of rinse it off and rub it. But it's very packable too because it unsnaps and it just lays flat, but then it snaps together when you want a cup. So it also doubles as a plate. So if I want to make myself a tortilla, I have something clean I can set that tortilla onto. This will fit inside of my dry bag, and then I'll have a bare line that will go through and I'll be able to hang it. I should talk about my cook system next, because what am I going to use to cook all that food? And I have a Toaks titanium pot. This is one of the smaller ones you can get. I think it's a 550 or 650 or something like that. It's big enough for just me. I have a homemade pot cozy for it that I made out of Reflectix. This helps keep my food warm. It lets me hold the pot even if it's hot, and it's useful for rehydrating food. So inside my pot, I have a Ziploc bag with a lighter and some Market Basket matches. Inside my pot, I'm a bit different. I am an alcohol stove user. This alcohol stove is made out of a cat food can, and all I did was I poked holes in it with a hole punch. So how it works is you have your either denatured alcohol type of thing or heat, and you pour it into here and you light it and it burns, and then you put your pot right on top of it. This is just a 12-ounce water bottle that I have put some heat into. It comes in the yellow bottle. This is just a measuring cup that came with some Pepto-Bismol I had. So I just use that to measure it out, pour it into the stove, light it with the matches. I have this windscreen that I made out of a to-go container, and that goes around the stove. Why do I use an alcohol stove? I use it because it's lighter. Alcohol is very light. It's actually lighter than water. So like, I think I have this filled about halfway. I figure this much alcohol is going to last me a week, and it probably weighs 5 ounces. It does take a little bit longer to boil than, say, a canister stove, but I don't know, I haven't really had an issue with it. I am going to carry extra Ziploc bags, which I didn't mention because they weren't in here, but one bag is going to be devoted to trash. I try to reuse my bags over and over again until they're unusable. So this one, you could probably tell, is very, very old, and but that's okay because it's just for my trash. All right, now let's talk about water. I feel like I'm in another minority here where I don't have a Sawyer squeeze or a Katadyn Be Free, and that seems to be the ones everyone uses. So I got really tired of having to replace my Katadyn Be Free filter, and I ended up getting the Platypus Quick Draw. It has almost the same flow rate as the Katadyn Be Free, but you can backflush it. So it works a similar way as other filters. It just would screw on to your dirty water bag or container. The threading will work with a Hammock bag or a smart water bottle. And then you've got your clean end where the clean water would come into. So it's a squeeze filter. You would just squeeze the dirty water through and it becomes clean. I have the Hammock Vecto 2-liter bag. So this bag has a very wide opening at one end. So let's say you're at a water source that isn't just a nice, perfect flowing water source. Maybe there's like puddles, you can kind of like scoop it a little bit, or if it's like a pond, having the wide mouth is really useful. I also like that it holds 2 liters. So I don't have to keep filling this up. I can just fill it up once and I'm good to go, because I don't need more than 2 liters at a time. For my water bottles, so I typically only carry 1.5 liters at a time of water while I'm hiking. So I just have a 1 liter smart water bottle, and I have a 1/2 liter Hydro Pack flask. So this bottle would live on my vest in one of the shoulder pockets, and what I typically do is I would put some kind of drink mix in here, so like usually liquid IV, and then I fill it up with water, give it a good shake, and now I've got electrolyte water in here, and the hose is basically very positioned so that I can drink it without having to remove the bottle from my shoulder strap pocket. So it's very convenient. So in cases where I might need more than 1.5 liters, what I can do is fill up my Hammock bag. So that brings my water carrying capacity up to 3.5 liters if I need it. One situation that might be useful, if I know that I'm hiking to a camp that doesn't have a water source, I might fill this up before I get there, and then I have plenty of water to get myself through the night and the next morning. All right, my next category is health and hygiene. I'll start with my first aid / gear repair kit. This is very minimal. This isn't really repair related, but I have a lot of rubber bands and hair ties because I feel like I'm either losing them or they break. Repair. I'm gonna carry just some gear aid tape. If something were to happen to like my rain pants or my tarp or something, and I needed to patch a hole, that's what these patches are for. I can use my scissors to cut pieces of it. These scissors are gonna be multi-purpose though. I'm not just gonna use it for repair. I'm gonna use it to open packages probably more often than not. So now here's my very minimalist first aid kit. As somebody that has a lot of falls, I do use my Band-Aids. I just like bringing Band-Aids. I have various sizes of them. Actually, this one has some extra Velcro for my shoes on it. So if I lose one, I can fix that on the go. If I do get a cut, I have some antiseptic wipes, and I also have just a single-use triple antibiotic ointment. I bring tweezers. The tweezers are for tick removal and also just general tweezing. I have had it happen where I actually got a splinter while I was building a fire, so just regular removal of splinters even. I have a little tiny little nail file. I am bringing nail clippers. I haven't put them in here yet. All right, and the only medications I'm bringing, other than my vitamins, which I'm going to talk about in my resupply video, I bring Tylenol and I bring melatonin. And I only have 2 of these because I don't anticipate needing it very often, but there's some nights where every now and then I have terrible insomnia. And so I have this as a just in case I need it if it comes down to it and I just really cannot sleep. So that's my first aid kit. What I want to talk about next is my bathroom kit. So my bathroom kit is, this is a little bag from Hilltop Packs. I think it's waterproof. Inside that I have, also from Hilltop Packs, I have the Apex Giant Dirt Diggler. This is a 6.5-inch trowel. I have to be completely honest with you. I have never used a trowel. In the past, I have dug holes with my trekking pole. And lately, I have struggled with digging holes with my trekking pole. So because you hit roots and you can't get in there. And so I end up like searching around, like trying to find a spot that isn't thick with roots that I can dig a hole. And it's a very lengthy process. So what I'm hoping this will be good for is kind of like digging through the roots. It could be it doesn't work out for me, but it doesn't weigh much and I'm trying it out. I'll also have a bag of toilet paper in here. This isn't all of the toilet paper I'm bringing. I still have to kind of divvy it up, but I'll have some toilet paper. Hand sanitizer is not going to be in the bag, but I will have it in my hip belt pocket so it's easy to access. I also have a couple wet naps. All right, that is my bathroom kit. I am gonna talk about my toiletries next. I like using a Ziploc bag for my toiletries because I can see everything that's in here. Dollar store toothbrush, little mini toothpaste, face wash, toner, cream, SPF moisturizer, dental floss, a comb. I'm bringing a razor, a tiny little thing of Wilderness soap. I bring a Nufa cloth. I will use the soft side of this for washing things like my body. The scratchy side is used for scraping off dirt, either from my legs or my pants. I am a deodorant user. This is actually Foot Glide, but more often than not, I use it for chafing and it's a game changer and I wouldn't consider not bringing this. I have a small mirror. I was not gonna bring conditioner, but I know that some hostels, they might have shampoo, but not conditioner. And so I just wanted to have a little bit. This is just a microfiber towel. And I mostly use this for wiping my face. So like after I wash my face. This is a Solar Goo container, but what I did was, this was empty and I just refilled it. The sunblock that I'm using is the Aveeno, the zinc oxide one. And the specific one was recommended by a subscriber. So I'm looking forward to trying this out. And I just put it in this container just to it comes in a 3-ounce bottle, so I'm not going to use 3 ounces. So I just put it in a smaller container. And mainly I would use that for my face, especially my nose, because that's what gets the most sun. Everything else I figure will be covered up with clothing most of the time. So this is probably actually going to live in my fanny pack, not in my toiletry bag, because I'm going to want easier access to it to reapply it throughout the day. Is not right here because it's in my fanny pack right now, but I also carry lip balm. The lip balm I use is an SPF 15, I think. That would also help to protect my lips from the sun. This is my pea cloth. It is a Kula cloth. This attaches with a carabiner on one of my hip belt pockets for easy access. And when I'm hiking, I can keep it clipped together like that for sanitation. I have some miscellaneous items to talk about that don't really fit into other categories. One being my trekking poles. These are the Lecky Micro Vario Carbon trekking poles. They are the women's version. On one of them, I have the GoPro pole attachment, so I can attach my GoPro camera to one of my poles and use that as a selfie stick. I talk more about that in my vlogging video. One thing I'm not sure about if I'm gonna bring, since I picked up that 1/8 inch foam pad from Gossamer Gear, is my Dutchware folding sit pad. It's cushier than my 1/8 inch foam pad. It's also really fast and easy to pull out of my bag and use it. I just don't know if it's too redundant because I already have the other thing that I could use to sit on. So I'm still thinking about this. I think this weighs like 1 ounce. So I'm not sure. I might end up not bringing this, or I might bring it just because it's weighs next to nothing. Let me know in the comments if you think I should bring that. I'll have a neck knife, mostly for cutting things like avocados, cheese, summer sausage, things like that. I have a Thermodrop thermometer. This hangs off of one of my hip belt pockets. So very useful for telling what temperature it is. You can also tell what the highs and lows were. When I'm in my hammock, I like to detach it from my pack and hang it from my ridgeline, and that tells me what the temperature is inside my hammock. I will bring hot hands. These will be just for when it's extremely cold, like we're talking definitely below freezing at night. I am a fanny pack user. This one actually came with my Kumo 36 backpack that I have. So it's from Gossamer Gear. It's just really comfortable to wear, and it's great for like if you're going into town and you don't want to wear your full backpack, you can wear this and you still have like all your valuable items on you. I mentioned before, but I keep my lip balm in here. I don't have it in here right now, but I usually carry a handkerchief, and I would carry that in here as well. I also typically, if I'm not wearing them, I'll have my sun gloves in there. I do carry dog spray, and I've had a lot of really scary run-ins with dogs in the woods that I want to be protected. So that's what I bring. This fanny pack has kind of an internal pocket, and inside of there, I don't remember where I heard this tip, but a shower cap to put over your fanny pack when it's raining so that the stuff in your fanny pack doesn't get wet. I've never actually tried this, but I'm gonna try it out. It doesn't really weigh anything, and I can just keep it in here when I'm not using it. So I'm gonna talk about electronics and camera equipment at the same time because there's some overlap. For my headlamp, I have the Nightcore New 20. Love this headlamp, very light. It does not have the red light, unfortunately, but I usually, if I'm walking into camp or something, I try and just put it on the lowest setting possible so I don't burn out people's eyes. I don't wear this often because I'm not really a night hiker, but it's nice to have, especially for at camp. What I do typically is I keep this in my hammock and I hang it from my ridgeline, and I use it as a light in my hammock. And then if I need to get out, use the bathroom, then it's easily accessible. For my satellite communication device, I use a Zoleo. Not everyone uses one of these. I like to have one because I hike by myself. And one thing I've learned about myself is I tend to get very anxious if I don't have service. Mainly because if something were to happen, I don't have a way to contact people. So this gives me a lot of peace of mind. It does have the SOS button if an emergency were to arise. I don't anticipate needing that on the AT, but it's peace of mind. What I use this for most often is texting my boyfriend. So if I don't have service at camp, I can still message him and let him know I made it to camp safely, and I can send him my coordinates if he wants to follow along with where I am. So I like to keep things in Ziplocs because I like being able to see everything that's in there. They are also keep things pretty dry, but I usually keep this bag inside my clothes dry bag while I'm hiking so that I make absolutely certain that none of my electronics get wet. But if moisture did get in there, I do carry some silica gel packets, which I keep in there to keep everything dry. As you may know, Apple took away the headphone jack on their phones. So I use a special adapter on mine where it's a lightning to auxiliary adapter, very short, lightweight cord. And I like to use corded headphones. I don't like having extra things to charge. So what I have here, this is a single earbud microphone. This came with my PlayStation. I use this, so I put it in one ear and it leaves one ear free to hear what's going on around me. It has a little clip on here to keep it from falling off, and it has a little microphone. I used to use this for vlogging. I don't typically use it for vlogging anymore, unless I'm in my hammock and I'm trying to talk quietly. And then I might use this so I can kind of hold this close to my face and talk quietly, and you can still hear me on the video. So I'd plug this into that adapter, and then I can listen to music, I can listen to audiobooks, whatever, while I'm hiking as well. One day I might buy fancy headphones, but this is what I have, so why not use it if it works? I am bringing my iPhone. I am recording on it right now. To charge it, I have a small lightning cable. I am also bringing my Apple Watch, which I'm wearing. Mainly use that to tell the time, but it's also useful to have as sort of like a trigger button for my camera. So if I want to set up a shot or want to take a photo of myself, I can use this to press the button to take the photo. I have a charger for that. This is a cheap no-name one from Amazon. Plugs in with USB, no cord to get tangled. I charge my devices with an Anker 20,000 milliamp charger. This is typically enough for me to keep my phone charged, my GoPro charged. Those are the main things, really. My headphone doesn't really need to be charged very often, and neither does the Zoleo. It's mostly my phone and my GoPro and my watch, but my watch doesn't draw much power. This usually lasts me anywhere from 3 to 5 days, and that's about how often I'd be going into town anyway, and then I can just recharge this. For charging things in town, I have an Anker IQ plug, which has 2 USB ports, and it is fast charging, so I can charge 2 things at once pretty quickly. So very useful having that. Unfortunately, all of my devices use different cords. So I have my lightning cable for my phone, I have my Apple Watch charger for my Apple Watch, I have a regular USB for my headlamp and my Zoleo, and I have a USB-C for my GoPro. And the Anker charger, you can use either regular USB or a USB-C. So that's nice, but I still end up bringing a bunch of cords. I try to get the shorter ones so they don't all get tangled up in here, and they're lighter. So I'm bringing my GoPro Hero 9. This is a waterproof action camera. Talked about this in my vlogging video. I don't recommend it. I mean, I recommend the video, I don't recommend the camera, but it's what I have, so I use it. Usually this lives on my trekking pole while I'm hiking, and I use it for filming for most of the day. Inside of here, I have the Enduro battery. I've actually been pretty impressed with the battery itself. I can usually get 2 days out of this camera without charging it. So I haven't felt the need to bring an extra battery because I can just keep charging this one up. I'm also going to have a brand new SanDisk SD card in here. This one is 512 gigabytes. I think this will last me for at least half of my hike, if not more. I will be transferring all of my files from my phone onto the SD card. So for that, I have a Lightning to USB camera adapter and an SD card reader. So I talk about this process more in my vlogging video, but this lets me copy files over. Aside from the camp shoes and possibly these microphones, which I'm kind of debating whether or not to bring, that's pretty much it. That's all the stuff I'm bringing. And that's pretty crazy to me because that's like everything I'm going to need to survive for 5 to 6 months, minus food. I'm editing this after I already recorded the video, and I realized that I never said my base weight If I did end up bringing the heaviest camp shoes, that would mean that my base weight is 16.3 pounds. If I don't bring any camp shoes, then it brings my base weight down to 15.5 pounds. Next week's video is going to be about food and resupply, so make sure you check that out. Also, next week, technically I will already be on the trail, but of course there's going to be some buffer for my videos. So you won't actually see me on trail for a week to 2 weeks after I start. Thank you very much for watching and happy trails.